The silver ship moved slowly through space near Jupiter, its crew shaking with fear and excitement. Commander Vexka stood on the bridge of the Zephyrian vessel Harmony's Edge, watching the small blue planet that hung in the distance like a jewel. His long ears twitched nervously as he adjusted his ceremonial robes. This was the moment his people had dreamed of for centuries, first contact with another intelligent species. Vexka was tall and thin like all Zephyrians, with soft gray fur, covering his body and large dark eyes that could see the slightest movement from far away. His species had evolved from creatures that spent their lives running from predators, always watching, always ready to flee. Even now, thousands of years after they had built spaceships and joined the Galactic Federation, that ancient fear lived. Deep in their blood, the bridge crew whispered among themselves in their musical language, their voices high and nervous. Navigation Officer Piaim Lu checked her instruments 3 times before speaking. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the third planet. They call themselves humans." Vexka nodded slowly. The Galactic Federation had been watching this system for years, studying the radio signals that came from the blue world. The beings there seemed to be at the edge of space travel, perfect candidates for peaceful contact. "Open the channel," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what looked like a military vessel. A human male sat in the center chair, wearing a blue uniform with gold stripes on the shoulders. He had short brown hair and kind eyes, though Vexka noticed immediately that those eyes faced forward, the mark of a predator. The human smiled, showing white teeth. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Liberty," the human said in a calm voice. "We welcome you to our solar system. We've been hoping to meet our neighbors among the stars." Vexka felt his heart racing, but forced himself to appear calm. "Greetings, Captain Morrison. I am Commander Vexka of the Galactic Federation. We come in peace to establish diplomatic relations with your species." Captain Morrison's smile grew wider. "That's wonderful news, Commander. We'd be honored to host you. Our governments have prepared a formal welcome ceremony on our orbital station. We've even arranged a feast to celebrate this historic moment." The word feast made several of the Zephyrian crew members step backwards. Vexka's ears flattened against his head for a moment before he caught himself. Among the Federation species, eating was a private matter, done quickly and quietly. The idea of making it part of a ceremony seemed strange. "That is most generous," Vexka replied carefully. "What manner of food do your people consume?" Captain Morrison seemed pleased by the question. "Oh, we've prepared something really special. Our best chefs have been working for days. The main course is prime beef from some of our finest cattle. We're also serving fresh salmon, roasted chicken, and lamb. It's going to be quite a spread." The bridge of the Harmony's Edge fell completely silent. Vexka stared at the screen, his mind struggling to process what he had just heard. Cattle were massive creatures with enormous muscles and dangerous horns. Salmon were swift predators with razor-sharp teeth. Chicken might sound harmless, but Vexka had seen the Federation files. They were aggressive birds with sharp claws and beaks. And lamb came from sheep, creatures nearly as large as cattle. Science Officer Rintu leaned close to whisper in Vexka's ear. "Commander, those are all apex predators from their world. The humans hunt and eat apex predators." Vexka felt his blood turn cold. In all the Federation's history, no species had ever deliberately hunted apex predators for food. Such creatures were to be feared and avoided, not consumed. The very idea was impossible to imagine. "Captain Morrison," Vexka said slowly, his voice barely steady, "did you say your people eat these creatures regularly?" "Oh, yes," Morrison replied cheerfully. "Beef is probably our most popular meat. Most humans eat it several times a week. Chicken is even more common. We probably consume billions of them every year. And salmon, well, that's considered a delicacy. We have entire industries built around catching them." Behind Vexka, he heard the soft thud of someone fainting. The ship's doctor, Well-SA, had collapsed onto the deck. 2 other crew members were holding onto their stations to keep from falling. The idea that these humans casually consumed billions. of apex predators every year was beyond terrifying. It was impossible. "We look forward to meeting you," Captain Morrison continued, unaware of the chaos his words had caused. "Our chef, Maria Santos, has prepared something she calls surf and turf. It's lobster and steak together. Lobster are these armored ocean predators with massive claws, and the steak comes from our biggest cattle. She's really excited to share human cuisine with our new friends." Vexka's vision began to blur around the edges. These humans spoke of consuming armored ocean predators and the largest land beasts as if they were discussing the weather. What manner of creatures were they? What kind of world produced beings that could hunt and kill such monsters? "Commander." "Vexka," Morrison said, his expression showing concern. "Are you all right? You look a bit pale. We need some time to prepare for this honor," Vexka managed to say. "Perhaps we could discuss the details later." "Of course," Morrison replied. "Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready." "Liberty." Out. The screen went dark, leaving the Zephyrian bridge in stunned silence. Vexka stared at the blank display, his mind reeling. These humans were not just another peaceful species joining the galactic community. They were something far more terrifying: apex predators who hunted other apex predators for food. "Signal the Federation Council," Vexka whispered to his communications officer. "Tell them we have made contact with the humans. Tell them ... He paused, struggling to find words for what he had learned. "Tell them we may have found something beyond our understanding." The emergency session of the Galactic Federation Council had been called within hours of Vexka's report. Representatives from 47 different species filled the great chamber on Unity Station, their various forms of breathing creating a symphony of worried sounds. The massive holographic display at the center showed the human solar system, marked now with warning symbols. Chancellor Mortiach of the Altarian Republic stood at the podium, her forearms gesturing dramatically as she spoke. "Fellow beings, what we have learned today challenges everything we thought we knew about intelligent life. The humans do not simply eat other creatures. They hunt and consume apex predators as a regular part of their diet." A wave of shocked sounds rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Krelvi of the Tenthri Collective raised one of his purple tentacles to speak. "Honorable Chancellor, my people have also encountered these humans. 3 of our deep space explorers met a human vessel near the edge of their system. The humans invited our crews to what they called a barbecue party and offered to share something they called shark steaks." The chamber fell silent. Sharks were legendary among spacefaring species, massive oceanic predators with rows of razor teeth, capable of sensing the smallest drop of blood from vast distances. The very mention of them being consumed as food caused several delegates to clutch their emergency breathing apparatus. "They cook and eat sharks?" whispered Representative Zixna of the Crystalline Collective, her transparent body flickering with nervous light patterns. "Not just eat them," Krelvi continued, his voice trembling. "They spoke of it as entertainment. The humans said they catch these predators using nothing but thin lines and metal hooks, then prepare them for social gatherings. They called it fishing and claimed it was relaxing." Dr. Lisa Park stood in the human observation booth, watching the proceedings through a protective barrier. As the only human scientist allowed to witness the emergency session, she felt increasingly frustrated and confused. The aliens seemed genuinely terrified of basic human dietary habits, and nothing she had tried to explain seemed to help the situation. Beside her, Captain Rick Hayes shook his head in disbelief. "Lisa, how do we explain that cows and chickens aren't actually dangerous? They keep talking about them like they're some kind of monsters." "I've tried showing them videos of farms," Lisa replied quietly. "They think our agricultural facilities are some kind of predator breeding program. When I showed them footage of children petting calves, they interpreted it as humans training their young to hunt." In the main chamber, more testimonies were being shared. Ambassador Prilzy of the Herbivore Alliance stood with her rabbit-like features pale with fear. "My scouts report that the humans have something called restaurants, public places where they gather specifically to consume the flesh of apex predators. There are millions of these facilities across their planet. Millions? Gasped Representative Homkov of the Insectoid Commonwealth, his antenna drooping with shock. The reports get worse, Prilsey continued. They have categorized these predator consumption facilities by the type of apex predator they serve. Some specialize in ocean predators like fish and lobsters. Others focus on land predators like cattle and pigs. There are even facilities that serve the flesh of multiple apex predators in single meals. Security Chief Lavra Wright, monitoring the session from the human vessel New Horizon, turned to her communication officer. Any word from Earth about why they're so afraid of livestock? Nothing yet, Chief, replied Communications Officer Ben Rodriguez. Command is as confused as we are. They want to know why aliens think chickens are apex predators. The testimony continued with each species sharing their encounters with human dietary habits. The bird-like Aryans spoke of humans who consumed creatures, called turkeys, massive ground birds with sharp talons and aggressive territorial behavior. The aquatic depths dwellers told of humans harvesting creatures called tuna, swift ocean predators that could grow larger than their own vessels. There is more disturbing evidence, announced Intelligence Director Quinroe of the Federation Security Council. Our long-range scanners have detected vast areas on the human world where these apex predators are kept in organized groups. We believe the humans are farming these dangerous creatures, raising entire populations for eventual consumption. The revelation caused panic throughout the chamber. The idea that humans could not only hunt apex predators but actually domesticate and breed them suggested a level of predatory evolution that no Federation species had ever imagined possible. Representative Veltu of the Peaceful Collective stood on shaking legs. If they can domesticate apex predators, what does that make them? What level of predator can turn other predators into livestock? Chancellor Moore Th called for order as several delegates began to flee the chamber. We must remain calm and consider our options. However, the evidence suggests that humans represent a threat unlike anything the Federation has encountered. Dr. Lisa Park activated her communication device, speaking directly to the chamber through the translation system. Honorable delegates, I believe there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about human biology and culture. If I could just explain our agricultural systems. Her words were cut off as alarms began blaring throughout Unity Station. Defense Coordinator Trixmo announced over the intercom, "Emergency alert. Human vessels have entered Federation space near the Centauri sector. They appear to be carrying large cargo containers." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates began evacuating immediately, convinced that the humans were launching some kind of hunting expedition against Federation worlds. The idea that humans might be transporting captured apex predators for release into Federation space created mass panic. Captain Hayes grabbed his communication device. All human vessels. This is Captain Hayes. Maintain distance from Federation ships and explain your cargo manifests immediately. The response came from Captain Danny Cooper aboard the cargo vessel Prairie Wind. Captain Hayes, we're just delivering the agricultural supplies that the Altarian colony requested. We've got livestock, grain, and farming equipment. Standard. Colony support mission. Did he say livestock? Whispered Ambassador Krelvi, who had remained in the chamber despite the panic. They're transporting apex predators across space? Dr. Lisa Park realized with growing horror that the humans had unknowingly confirmed the aliens' worst fears. From the Federation perspective, humans were not only apex predator hunters but were now apparently spreading these dangerous creatures throughout the galaxy. We need to get word to Earth immediately, she told Captain Hayes. They have to understand that every normal human activity is being interpreted as some kind of predatory behavior. As evacuation ships fled Unity Station and emergency defense fleets mobilized across Federation space, the seeds of what would become the greatest misunderstanding in galactic history had been planted. The humans, completely unaware that their mention of hamburgers and fishing trips had caused galaxy-wide panic, continued their peaceful exploration of space, while the Federation prepared for what they believed was an invasion by the most dangerous predators the universe had ever seen. Dr. Kevin Mills adjusted his formal diplomatic robes as he walked through the corridors of Peacekeeping Point, the massive neutral station that served as the Federation's primary diplomatic facility. As Earth's leading xenanthropologist, he had been specially chosen to attempt one final peaceful resolution before the situation spiraled completely out of control. The past 3 weeks had seen increasing hostilities across the galaxy, with several Federation species beginning to mobilize military forces. The meeting chamber was filled with representatives from the Herbivore Alliance, their various forms, creating a rainbow of fur, feathers, and scales. Ambassador Trilza of the Zephyrians sat at the head of the delegation, her large ears constantly twitching as she monitored for any signs of danger. Beside her sat Minister Pexlu of the Grass Eater Republic and Chancellor Vimso of the Peaceful Collective. "Honored delegates," Dr. Mills began, his voice carefully modulated to sound as non-threatening as possible. "I come here today to help bridge the misunderstanding that has developed between our peoples. Humans are not the monsters you believe." "US to be," Ambassador Trilza's ears flattened against her head. "Dr. Mills, we have documented evidence of your species' predatory nature. Your people openly admit to consuming apex predators on a daily basis. How can you claim to be peaceful?" Dr. Mills had prepared extensively for this question. "What you call apex predators, we simply call livestock. These are not wild, dangerous creatures. They have been bred over thousands of years to be gentle and suitable for food production." The room fell silent except for the sound of several delegates' rapid breathing. Minister Pexlu leaned forward, his rabbit-like features pale with shock. "You mean your species has been selectively breeding apex predators for thousands of years? That makes it even worse." "No, you don't understand," Dr. Mills said, realizing his explanation was making things worse. "Cows and chickens aren't dangerous. They're domesticated farm animals. Children can safely interact with them." Chancellor Vimso gasped audibly. "You expose your young to apex predators as part of their training? What kind of species raises their children alongside creatures that could kill them?" Dr. Mills felt sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool temperature of the chamber. Every explanation he offered seemed to terrify the aliens more. He decided to try a different approach. "Perhaps I could show you some human recreational activities to help you understand our peaceful nature." He activated the holographic display and showed footage of humans engaged in various leisure activities. The first video showed a group of people on a lake, sitting quietly in small boats with fishing poles. "This is called fishing," Dr. Mills explained. "It's one of our most popular relaxation activities. Humans find it peaceful and meditative." Ambassador Trilza stared at the display in horror. "They hunt aquatic predators for relaxation? They find stalking and killing creatures to be meditative?" "No, that's not," Dr. Mills started, but Minister Pexlu interrupted. "Look at their tools," Pexlu whispered, pointing at the fishing equipment. "Those hooks are designed to cause pain and prevent escape. They torture their prey before consumption." Dr. Mills quickly changed the video to show a family barbecue in a suburban backyard. He hoped showing normal family life would help demonstrate human peacefulness. The video showed children playing while adults cooked food on a grill. "This is a typical human family gathering," he explained. "Notice how relaxed and happy everyone appears." Chancellor Vimso pointed a shaking finger at the grill. "They're cooking the flesh of apex predators in front of their young as part of a social celebration? The children are learning to associate the consumption of dangerous creatures with happiness and family bonding." The situation continued to deteriorate as Dr. Mills showed more footage. A video of a hunting expedition caused 3 delegates to faint when they saw humans tracking and killing deer. A clip from a seafood restaurant featuring lobster preparation made Ambassador Trilza flee the chamber entirely. Captain Diana Clark, monitoring the proceedings from the human diplomatic vessel stationed nearby, spoke into her communication device. "Earth Command, the cultural exchange is failing catastrophically. Every piece of evidence we present is being interpreted as proof of our predatory nature. Back on Earth, General Frank Hayes reviewed the reports from Peacekeeping Point with growing frustration. How do we explain to them that a chicken isn't a monster? These aliens act like we're talking about hunting dragons. Meanwhile, the Federation's intelligence services had been conducting their own research into human behavior. Commander Zelka of Federation Intelligence presented his findings to the Emergency Military Council. Our analysis of human broadcasts reveals even more disturbing information. They engage in something called hunting purely for entertainment, not even for food. The council members listened in stunned silence as Zelka continued. They track and kill creatures called deer, bears, and wild boar using advanced weapons. They then display the remains of these creatures in their homes as trophies. This suggests they hunt not just for sustenance, but for psychological satisfaction. Admiral Nexru of the Defense Fleet stood up abruptly. You mean they kill apex predators for pleasure? What kind of twisted psychology drives such behavior? It gets worse, Zelka replied. They have institutions called zoos where they capture apex predators from around their world and display them for public viewing. They force these dangerous creatures into captivity so their young can observe them safely. The intelligence report continued with increasingly alarming findings. Humans had something called aquariums where they kept aquatic predators like sharks and barracuda in glass containers. They had circuses where they trained massive land predators to perform tricks for entertainment. Some humans even kept smaller predators called cats and dogs in their homes as companions. They live alongside predators by choice? Gasped Defense Minister Crix II. They voluntarily share their living spaces with creatures that could attack them at any moment? Dr. Mills, still struggling to salvage the diplomatic meeting, tried one final approach. Perhaps if I explained our agricultural systems, you would understand that these animals pose no threat to anyone. He showed footage of vast farms with cows grazing peacefully in fields. To his amazement, the remaining delegates reacted with even greater terror. Look at the scale of their operations, whispered Minister Pexlew. They maintain thousands of these apex predators in organized groups. The logistical complexity required to manage such numbers of dangerous creatures suggests military-level organizational capabilities. Chancellor Vimso had returned to the chamber but remained near the exit. If they can organize and control thousands of apex predators, what does that say about their own predatory abilities? How powerful must a species be to treat such creatures as mere livestock? The meeting ended abruptly when footage of a modern slaughterhouse caused the remaining delegates to evacuate in panic. Dr. Mills sat alone in the empty chamber, surrounded by abandoned translation devices and overturned chairs, wondering how humanity's agricultural achievements had been transformed into evidence of their monstrous nature. As reports of the failed diplomatic mission spread throughout Federation space, military preparations accelerated. The consensus among Federation leaders was clear. Humanity represented an existential threat to all galactic life, and their casual attitude toward apex predator consumption proved they would view other intelligent species as nothing more than potential prey. The holographic image of Clinny filled screens across Federation space as the influential Zephyrian journalist began her most important broadcast. Her silver fur was perfectly groomed, and her large eyes held an intensity that commanded attention from viewers on hundreds of worlds. Behind her, ancient texts and star charts created an ominous backdrop for what she was about to reveal. Citizens of the Federation, Clinny began, her voice carrying the weight of terrible knowledge. What I'm about to share will shake the very foundations of our understanding of galactic history. The humans are not simply another predatory species. They are the world enders spoken of in our most ancient prophecies. Commander Rachel Stone stood in the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Peacemaker, watching the broadcast with growing alarm. As Earth's lead diplomatic officer, she had been trying to arrange peaceful meetings with Federation leadership for weeks. But this conspiracy theory was making her job impossible. Captain Torres, she called to her communications officer, our You getting this transmission on all Federation channels? Yes, ma'am, replied Captain Susan Torres, her face pale as she monitored dozens of alien communication networks. It's being broadcast simultaneously across 47 worlds. The audience numbers are in the billions. On the screen, Clinny continued her presentation with dramatic flair. 10,000 years ago, our ancestors recorded the legend of a species that would emerge from the void to consume all life. They called them the world enders because they would systematically hunt entire ecosystems to extinction, beginning with the apex predators and working their way down the food chain until nothing remained. The broadcast cut to images of ancient stone tablets and crystalline data cores, all showing primitive drawings of creatures consuming other creatures in endless cycles. Federation archaeologists had discovered these artifacts on dozens of worlds, leading to speculation about their common origin. For millennia, we dismissed these as primitive myths, Clinny explained, but now we know the truth. The humans match every description given by our ancestors. They hunt apex predators for food. They have turned their entire world into a massive feeding ground. And now they have come to the stars. Dr. Ashley Turner, watching from Earth's xenobiology laboratory, felt her frustration mounting. How did wildlife conservation become evidence of planetary destruction? She muttered to her research assistant, Dr. Carl Thompson. It's getting worse, Carl replied, monitoring alien communication networks. They're interpreting every aspect of human civilization as proof of this world-ender theory. The broadcast continued with Clinny presenting what she claimed was overwhelming evidence. Observe the human world they call Earth. Once, according to their own records, it was populated by massive creatures they call dinosaurs, giant mammals like mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. Where are these creatures now? The humans drove them all to extinction through systematic hunting. Images flashed on the screen showing museum exhibits of dinosaur skeletons and reconstructions of Ice Age megafauna. To Federation viewers, these appeared to be trophies from successful hunts, proof that humans had eliminated entire species of apex predators. They even admit to this in their historical records, Clinny continued dramatically. They speak openly of hunting mammoths, giant ground sloths, and cave bears. They describe these hunts as if they were normal activities, showing no remorse for driving these mighty predators to extinction. Captain Diana Clark, aboard the human research vessel New Horizon, received urgent communications from Federation worlds across the galaxy. Commander Stone, we're getting reports of mass panic on 17 Federation planets. They're beginning emergency evacuations of their apex predator populations. Commander Stone rubbed her temples, feeling a headache building. What do they mean by apex predator evacuations? They're trying to hide their most dangerous wildlife from us, Diana explained. The Altarians are relocating all their large carnivorous plants to underground bunkers. The Tenthri are moving their giant sea predators to the deepest ocean trenches. They think we're coming to hunt their most dangerous species. The conspiracy theory gained momentum as Clinny presented more evidence. Consider the human concept of something they call a food chain. They have scientifically analyzed the predatory relationships between all creatures on their world and placed themselves at the very top. This is not natural evolution. This is systematic elimination of competition. Environmental scientist Dr. Nicole Turner, monitoring the broadcast from the Agricultural Research Station in orbit around Earth, spoke into her communication device. Earth Command, they're interpreting basic ecology as evidence of predatory supremacy. How do we explain that food webs are natural phenomena? The answer came from General Frank Hayes at Earth Defense Command. Dr. Turner, at this point I don't think scientific explanations are going to help. They've decided we're monsters, and every fact we present is being twisted to support that conclusion. Clinny's broadcast reached its climax as she revealed what she claimed was the most damning evidence. The humans have created something they call nature preserves and wildlife sanctuaries. They claim these are for protection. But observe the truth. These are breeding facilities where they maintain populations of dangerous creatures for future hunting. Images of Yellowstone National Park and African game reserves filled the screen, showing vast areas where large animals roamed freely. To Federation viewers, these appeared to be massive predator farms operated by the humans for long-term hunting purposes. They even have institutions called zoos where they display captured apex predators for study and entertainment, Klimny continued. They are learning the behavioral patterns of dangerous creatures, preparing for more efficient hunting methods. The broadcast showed footage of humans observing lions, tigers, and bears in zoo environments. From the Federation perspective, these appeared to be training facilities where humans studied their prey before hunting expeditions. Sam Wilson, a truck driver from Montana, watched a translation of the broadcast with bewilderment. They think Yellowstone is a hunting preserve? I take my kids there every summer to see the buffalo and bears. It's a national park, not some kind of game farm. Teacher Emma Roberts, vacationing at a marine sanctuary in Florida, was equally confused. They're calling SeaWorld a predator study facility? It's an educational theme park? Children come here to learn about marine life, not to prepare for hunting sharks. The conspiracy theory spread rapidly through Federation space as more journalists and academics added their own interpretations. Ancient prophecies from dozens of worlds were re-examined and found to contain similar warnings about creatures that would consume all life. Professor Yeksenai of the Galactic Archaeological Institute published a supplementary report supporting Klimny's findings. The prophecies speak of world enders who would turn apex predators into livestock, who would farm death itself. The humans have done exactly this. They have transformed the most dangerous creatures on their world into docile food sources. Through selective breeding over thousands of years, the archaeological evidence seemed to support the theory. Cave paintings from ancient Federation worlds showed similar scenes of creatures consuming other creatures in organized patterns. The similarity across multiple worlds suggested these warnings came from a common source: survivors of previous encounters with world enders. Commander Stone received a priority transmission from Admiral Patricia, Crossed Earth Fleet Command. Rachel, the situation is deteriorating rapidly. We have Federation military buildups in 17 sectors. They're not just afraid of us anymore, they're preparing for war. What are our options, Admiral? Stone asked. Limited, Admiral Cross replied grimly. Every peaceful gesture we make is being interpreted as predatory behavior. Our agricultural ships are seen as invasion fleets. Our trade offers are viewed as attempts to study Federation species for hunting purposes. We may have no choice but to prepare for defensive action. As Klimny's broadcast ended with a call for immediate military action against the human threat, the galaxy found itself on the brink of the largest war in recorded history. The humans, still completely unaware that their barbecue recipes and fishing trips had been transformed into evidence of their monstrous nature, continued their peaceful exploration of space while the Federation prepared to defend itself against what they believed were the legendary destroyers of worlds. The construction of the Salvation Fleet represented the largest military mobilization in galactic history. Across Federation space, species that had been peaceful for millennia worked frantically to build weapons capable of stopping what they believed were the legendary world enders. War leader Zexmore of the militant Urgal Republic stood on the command deck of the massive battleship Divine Protection, watching thousands of vessels take shape in the orbital shipyards around Federation. The Urgals had been the Federation's primary military force for centuries, but even they had never faced a threat like this. Zexmore's scarred face reflected years of smaller conflicts, but his hands shook slightly as he reviewed intelligence reports about human capabilities. These creatures didn't just hunt apex predators, they had somehow turned the most dangerous beasts in their ecosystem into farm animals. Status report on fleet construction, Zexmore commanded, his deep voice echoing through the bridge. Fleet Coordinator Bixka, a nervous Zephyrian with constantly twitching ears, consulted her multiple data screens. War Leader, we now have contributions from 63 different species. The Crystalline Collective has provided their most advanced energy weapons. The Aquatic Confederation has developed new torpedo systems. Even the peaceful Herbivore Alliance has begun producing defensive barriers. General Frank Hayes stood in the Situation Room deep beneath Earth Defense Command, staring at tactical displays that showed the massive Federation fleet assembling just outside human space. The red icons representing enemy vessels seemed to multiply every hour, creating a wall of hostility that stretched across multiple star systems. "How many ships are we looking at now?" he asked Intelligence Chief Captain Diana Clark. "Our best estimate is over 15,000 vessels, sir," Diana replied, her voice tight with concern. "Everything from small fighter craft to ships larger than our space stations. They're treating this like an extinction-level event." General Hayes rubbed his tired eyes. 3 weeks of failed diplomatic attempts had only made the situation worse. Every explanation of human culture seemed to terrify the aliens more. "Any word from our diplomatic teams?" Ambassador Patricia Cross reports that the Federation has refused all communication attempts, Diana answered. "They believe any contact with us is part of some kind of hunting strategy." Meanwhile, on Federation worlds across the galaxy, the preparation for war had transformed entire civilizations. The peaceful flower tenders of Botanical Prime had converted their agricultural facilities into weapons manufacturing plants. Their delicate, plant-like forms moved frantically through the factories, producing defensive systems they hoped would protect them from human hunting expeditions. "The irony is overwhelming," muttered Dr. Carl Thompson as he reviewed intercepted Federation communications from his office at Earth's Strategic Analysis Center. "They're so afraid of our agricultural technology that they've militarized their own agriculture to fight us." The Federation's fear had reached levels that defied rational analysis. Intelligence reports suggested that some species were preparing to evacuate their entire populations to hidden worlds rather than face the possibility of being hunted by humans. The Ten-3 had begun moving their cities to the deepest ocean trenches on their homeworld, believing that underwater locations would be harder for humans to reach. War leader Zexmore received a priority communication from the Federation War Council. Chancellor Morth appeared on his screen, her forearms gesturing frantically as she spoke. "War leader, our xenobiologists have completed their analysis of the human homeworld. The situation is worse than we imagined." "How can it be worse than systematic apex predator consumption?" Zexmore asked. "They've analyzed what humans call cities," Chancellor Morth replied, her voice trembling. "These massive structures cover enormous areas of their planet's surface. Our scientists believe they are processing facilities for apex predator consumption, built on a scale that suggests industrial-level hunting operations." The analysis was completely wrong, but from the Federation perspective it made terrifying sense. Human cities, with their massive infrastructure and complex transportation systems, appeared to be logistics networks designed to support planet-wide hunting operations. The movement of food supplies through urban areas was interpreted as the distribution of apex predator meat to human population centers. "There's more," Chancellor Morth continued. "They have something called fast food restaurants facilities, apparently designed for rapid consumption of apex predator flesh. There are millions of these facilities across their world, suggesting that every human community is organized around predator consumption." Captain Susan Torres, monitoring Federation communications from the diplomatic vessel Peacemaker, felt her frustration reach a breaking point. "They think McDonald's is evidence of our predatory nature. How do we explain that hamburgers aren't made from dangerous animals?" The answer came from Dr. Ashley Turner, speaking from her research station. "Susan, they don't understand the concept of domestication. To them, any creature large enough to be dangerous must be an apex predator. They can't comprehend that we've selectively bred these animals to be harmless." On the Federation side, military strategists were developing battle plans based on their understanding of human capabilities. Admiral Nexru of the Combined Fleet presented his analysis to the War Council with maps showing predicted human attack patterns. Based on their historical behavior, The humans will likely target our most dangerous wildlife first, Admiral Nexru explained. They appear to prefer hunting creatures that other species find threatening. We must protect our apex predators at all costs. The Federation had begun moving their most dangerous wildlife to hidden locations throughout the galaxy. Giant carnivorous plants were relocated to secret underground facilities. Massive predatory fish were transported to heavily defended aquatic reserves. Even dangerous insects and small predators were being evacuated to prevent them from falling into human hands. "They're protecting their wildlife from us," observed Dr. Nicole Turner as she read the intelligence reports. "They actually think we're coming to hunt their animals." The misunderstanding had reached cosmic proportions. While humans prepared for what they hoped would be defensive battles to protect their worlds, the Federation was organizing what they believed was a desperate fight for the survival of all galactic life. War Leader Zex Moore stood before the assembled fleet commanders, representatives from dozens of species who had never worked together before. "Fellow defenders of life," he began, his voice carrying across multiple communication channels, "we face an enemy unlike any in galactic history. These humans have consumed the apex predators of their own world and now seek to extend their hunting grounds to our space." The fleet commanders nodded grimly, their various forms united in terror of the approaching human threat. Fleet Admiral Crixtu of the Peaceful Collective, whose species had never built a warship before this crisis, spoke with determination that surprised everyone. "Our children will not become prey," Admiral Crixtu declared. "We will not allow these world-enders to turn our beautiful galaxy into their hunting preserve." General Hayes received the final intelligence report as the Federation fleet completed its mobilization. Over 20,000 vessels now formed a massive wall between human space and the rest of the galaxy. The largest military force ever assembled was preparing to attack humanity, because they thought hamburgers and chicken nuggets were evidence of monstrous, predatory behavior. "Sir," said Captain Diana Clark, "long-range sensors show the Federation fleet beginning to move toward our borders. Estimated time to contact is 72 hours. General Hayes looked at the tactical display showing Earth's modest defensive fleet, completely outnumbered by an enemy that feared them for reasons no human could understand. "Send word to all human colonies and vessels. Prepare for defensive action, and somebody find me a way to explain to these aliens that a cow is not a dangerous monster." As the largest space battle in galactic history approached, both sides prepared for what they believed was a fight for survival, each completely misunderstanding the nature and intentions of their enemy. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the cargo bay of the UES Liberty, surrounded by the strangest diplomatic preparation in human history. Instead of weapons and battle plans, the massive space was filled with tables, chairs, and cooking equipment. Chef Maria Santos directed a team of volunteers as they prepared what might be humanity's last chance to avoid galactic war. "Captain, the Federation fleet will be in weapons range in 6 hours, reported Communications Officer Ben Rodriguez, his voice tight with tension. "Are you sure this is going to work?" Jake looked at the peaceful scene around him, farmers-like. Joe Collins arranging fresh vegetables, teachers like Emma Roberts setting up educational displays, and Chef Santos preparing dishes that showcase the best of human cuisine. "Ben, we've tried everything else. Maybe it's time to show them who we really are instead of trying to explain it." The plan was desperately simple. Instead of meeting the Federation fleet with weapons, humanity would invite them to a feast. But this feast would be different. Everything would be plant-based, prepared by the very farmers and agricultural specialists that the aliens thought were apex predator hunters. Dr. Lisa Park finished arranging her botanical displays showing the evolution of human agriculture over thousands of years. "Jake, I still think they might interpret this as some kind of trap. They're convinced we're the world enders from their ancient prophecies. And then we'll have to show them what world ending really looks like," Jake replied with a grim smile. "Maybe they'll realize that ending a world's hunger is different from ending its life." Across space, War Leader Zex Moore received the unprecedented communication from the human fleet. His scarred face showed confusion as he read the message for the third time. They're inviting us to a meal before the battle begins? Is this some kind of predator ritual? Fleet Admiral Crixtu of the Peaceful Collective studied the invitation with her large, gentle eyes. War leader, perhaps we should accept. If we're going to die fighting these world enders, at least we'll understand their nature before the end. The Federation leaders agreed to the meeting, convinced they were walking into some kind of predatory ceremony. As their shuttles approached the human vessels, many expected to see hunting trophies and weapons displays. Instead, they found themselves guided to a massive dining hall filled with tables covered in colorful dishes and surrounded by smiling humans. Commander Vexka, the same Zephyrian who had first encountered humans months ago, trembled as he entered the hall. His expectations of seeing apex predator remains were shattered by the sight of humans arranging what appeared to be plants. Chef Maria Santos approached the nervous aliens with a warm smile, carrying a tray of carefully prepared samples. Welcome, honored guests. I'm Maria Santos, and I've prepared a special meal to share with you today. Ambassador Trilza of the Herbivore Alliance backed away, expecting to see chunks of predator flesh. Instead, the tray held beautifully arranged vegetables, grains, and fruits. But where are the apex predators you consume? Maria looked confused. For a moment, then understanding dawned in her eyes. Oh, you mean our livestock? We didn't bring any animals today? This feast is entirely plant-based. I wanted to show you the foundation of human cuisine. The aliens stared at the food in bewilderment. War leader Zex more cautiously approached one of the dishes. These are plants? But we were told you consume massive predators called cattle. Dr. Lisa Park stepped forward with a gentle smile. Leading a small group that included Farmer Joe Collins and rancher Susan Torres, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about what cattle actually are. Joe, would you like to explain? Joe Collins, a simple farmer from Kansas, found himself addressing the most powerful military leaders in the galaxy. Well, cattle aren't predators at all. They're gentle creatures that eat grass. We've been breeding them for thousands of years to be calm and friendly. He activated a holographic display showing footage of cows grazing peacefully in fields, calves playing together, and children safely petting the large animals. See, they're herbivores just like many of your species. They only eat plants. The silence in the hall was deafening. Fleet Admiral Crixtu stared at the images with growing amazement. Those massive creatures? They only eat grass? Rancher. Susan Torres nodded enthusiastically. That's right. And chickens aren't dangerous birds either. They're small, domesticated fowl that eat seeds and insects. We raise them in safe environments where they can live comfortably. More holographic displays showed the reality of human agriculture, vast fields of grain, peaceful farm animals grazing in meadows, and advanced agricultural techniques designed to feed billions of people efficiently. The images completely contradicted everything the Federation thought they knew about human civilization. Chef Santos continued her presentation, explaining each dish and its ingredients. This bread is made from wheat that we've cultivated for over 10,000 years. These vegetables come from plants we've selectively bred to be more nutritious and flavorful. And this protein comes from legumes, plants that actually improve soil health while they grow. Environmental scientist Dr. Ashley Turner joined the explanation, showing conservation efforts that the Federation had misinterpreted as hunting preserves. Our national parks and wildlife sanctuaries are designed to protect wild animals, not hunt them. We've learned that preserving natural ecosystems is essential for the health of our planet. Commander Vexka slowly approached one of the dishes, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. You mean, when you spoke of consuming salmon, you weren't hunting oceanic apex predators? Well, we do catch wild fish, admitted Captain Rick Hayes. But most of our seafood actually comes from fish farms where we raise them in controlled environments. It's more like underwater agriculture than hunting. The revelation continued as more humans shared their stories. Teacher Emma Roberts explained how environmental education helped humans understand their ecosystem. Dr. Carl Thompson described sustainable farming practices that increased food production while protecting wildlife. Agricultural scientist Dr. Nicole Turner showed how modern farming techniques could feed entire planets without destroying natural habitats. War leader Zexmore found himself sitting at a table, cautiously tasting plant-based dishes that were more flavorful and complex than anything in his military rations. But the ancient prophecies spoke of world enders who would consume all life. How do we reconcile this with what we're seeing? Dr. Lisa Park sat across from him, her expression thoughtful. What if the prophecies weren't about ending worlds through destruction, but about ending worlds of hunger and scarcity? What if the world enders were species that learned to feed their entire population sustainably? The concept was revolutionary to the Federation delegates. They had always viewed the universe through the lens of scarcity and survival, where resources were limited and species competed for basic necessities. The idea that a species could actually solve the problem of feeding itself was almost incomprehensible. Ambassador Trilza tasted a sample of human-grown fruit and found it sweeter than anything from her homeworld. You've actually ended hunger. On your world? Farmer Joe Collins scratched his head modestly. Well, we're still working on distribution issues, but we can grow enough food to feed everyone. The real challenge is making sure it gets to people who need it. The Federation delegates spent hours in the dining hall, tasting human cuisine and learning about agricultural techniques that could transform their own worlds. The massive war fleet hung motionless in space as their leaders discovered that the creatures they had feared were actually farmers and gardeners, who had learned to work with their planet instead of simply consuming it. As the feast continued, Chancellor Moore Th of the Altarian Republic found herself discussing crop rotation techniques with a human agricultural engineer. Fleet Admiral Crix, who was learning about soil conservation from a woman who had spent her life growing vegetables. War leader Zexmore was asking detailed questions about sustainable fishing practices. The transformation was remarkable. Within hours, the most militaristic leaders in the galaxy had become fascinated students of human agricultural science. The prospect of feeding their own populations more efficiently was far more appealing than any military conquest. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the dining hall, watching former enemies share recipes and farming techniques. Ben, he said to his communications officer, send word to Earth Command. Tell them the war is over. What should I say happened, sir? Ben asked. Jake smiled as he watched war leader Zexmore enthusiastically discussing greenhouse construction with Chef Santos. Tell them we solved it the human way. We invited them over for dinner and taught them how to grow better food. The galaxy's first and only World Enders War ended not with weapons and destruction, but with recipes and farming advice. The Federation discovered that humans weren't monsters seeking to hunt them. They were teachers ready to share the knowledge. That had allowed them to turn a single world into a garden capable of feeding billions. And in the end, the universe became a little more like Earth, not through conquest or force, but through the simple act of sharing a meal and the knowledge to grow better ones.